The CFA Institute has released the 2024 compensation study, which everyone is always interested in to see exactly how much the average CFA charter holder is making. And this year is especially relevant when you consider the amount of inflation that's been experienced globally over the past 18 months or so. So for anybody who's ever wondered how much money a CFA charter holder really makes, here are the facts. We're gonna jump right into it at a very, very broad scale, and we're just gonna look at the average and the median total compensation earned by all CFA charter holders who completed the compensation survey globally. Now, it's important to remember that there are a very wide array of different job functions that someone with the CFA charter could perform. And just like with any other job, of course, there's a large difference in the amount of experience that any one individual may have. You're gonna have some CFA charter holders with maybe only 2 years of experience in the finance field, and then others with 40 or more years of experience. And typically there's a correlation between how long you've been working in the industry and how much you make. But we can certainly get a top-down view, and let's jump right into it. The average annual compensation measured in US dollars for all CFA charter holders globally was $357,000 in 2023. So about $350,000. But even with this very broad filter through the compensation study, it's important to note that the average is much higher than the median. And if you got through like 8th grade statistics, you'll know why that might be. There are some charter holders making $10 million a year or more, but the median total compensation for us all CFA charter holders globally is about $250,000, about $100,000 less than the average total compensation. Which one do you care more about? Well, that's up to you. But this is a relatively big increase compared to the last time we saw these numbers. Similarly, to years in the past, when we look at where this total compensation is coming from, if you break down the $357,000 US dollars in total comp, about 72% of that is coming from base salary, and the other quarter of the total comp number is coming from primarily bonuses, cash bonuses or incentive bonuses. Now, I could be wrong. Very interestingly for this year, the compensation survey, which has several different filters, if you're a charter holder, you can always log into the website and check it all out. It has different ways that you can screen the data, and they have a gender drop down for 2024. And I could be wrong, but I don't think I've ever seen the gender selection option before. So naturally, it's like, well, hey, let's see what the difference in pay amongst in this case, the two genders are. They only give male and female. Whether that's right or wrong, you be the judge. But when we switch just to the female filter, all else the same, the median compensation drops from $250,000 to $240,000, and the average compensation drops from $357,000 to $331,000 US dollars per year. So is there a gender pay gap among CFA charter holders, at least the ones that filled out the compensation survey last year? The answer was yes. Females are getting paid about 4 to 5% less, you do the math, on average. Up to this point, you may be thinking, wow, I'm woefully underpaid. And I want to address that because I've been throwing around what are, compared to the majority of the US population, pretty significant numbers. But the thing that I think most of the viewers of this YouTube channel should keep in mind is that on average, you as a viewer of this YouTube channel are going to be less experienced and have less years in the industry than the average or median CFA charter holder. So the next thing we should talk about is the median and average total compensation for people in entry-level or intermediate level roles within whatever sector of the finance field they work in. Again, could be wrong, but I feel like in prior years, they let you filter by actual years of experience, like 1 to 4 or 5 plus, whatever. In this case, we're only able to filter by levels. So I'm going to talk about intermediate and then entry level. For people in the intermediate category in their careers who are CFA charter holders across the globe, all job functions included, the median compensation is $145,000 US dollars per year, and the average annual compensation is $166,000 US dollars per year. When we filter down now to CFA charter holders who are in the entry-level roles within whatever sector of the finance industry they work in, now the average annual compensation is $110,000 US dollars per year, and the median annual compensation is $99,000 US dollars per year. So if you're a level 2 or level 3 candidate or a CFA charter holder watching this video, and you've been in the industry for anywhere from 3 to 5 years, you are more likely to be within this range of average compensation between 110 and 160,000 US dollars per year. Trying to make this video specifically relevant to those of you who are watching is a little tricky because I don't know exactly which subsectors within the finance industry are most common amongst viewers of this channel, but I picked out just a few that you may want to compare your own salary against or sort of set future salary goals for if you're like a current CFA candidate. So now filtering down to just jobs in the United States held by CFA charter holders, specifically focused on research/investment. Relatively ambiguous terminology there in the compensation survey, but I think it aligns pretty well with like a buy-side analyst in many job functions. So when we look at US research/investment professionals, we have an average annual compensation of 305,000 US dollars per year and a median annual compensation of 235,000 US dollars per year. So kind of similar to those numbers we talked about early on in this video, just slightly less considering, like upper level management and executive type roles still exist in this data set. And if you're doing buy-side research or something like that, you're an analyst. So analyst positions, think of a range between $230,000 to $300,000 per year. Next, I looked at portfolio management positions, which in most cases are probably the next progression from those analyst type roles that we just talked about. And the compensation numbers pretty well aligned with that understanding. When we look at the United States, CFA charter holders who identify with their careers as being in the portfolio management subsector of finance, we have average annual compensation of 379,000 US dollars per year and median annual compensation of 262,000 US dollars per year. So now we're slightly above those numbers that I mentioned at the beginning of this video, which makes sense since we're talking about probably people with anywhere from 7 to 20 years of experience in the field. Just for fun, I tried to figure out the subsector that would have the highest annual total compensation. So I did a very basic search on all regions, all functions, but in the career stage, that last filter that I was talking about that used to be like years of experience, I just click executive. So I would assume these are the relatively highest paid, though I could be wrong because I'm sure there are plenty of private equity managers, hedge fund managers that beat these numbers. Actually, looking at them, I was a little bit underwhelmed. The average annual compensation amongst executives that have the CFA charter is 503,000 US dollars per year. Sorry, 530,000 US dollars per year. And the median annual compensation is 406,000 US dollars per year. Let's see if we can ramp this thing up. No, it doesn't really look like it. I can't find any other individual filter that gives us higher total compensation data than executive. So I think we'll leave it at that. This is information that the CFA Institute publishes to charter holders either every year or every other year. And I wanted to share some of the interesting findings that I think would be most relevant for others, but you cannot view all of the data unless you have a login on the CFA website, which isn't all that hard to get. If you have any specific questions for me, as always, send me an email. I'll be happy to reach back out to you. And thanks for watching.